Yeah, maybe, but the Racket will talk.
Hello and welcome to episode Love of the Racket Will Talk podcast. I'm Charlotte.
And I'm Sam.
And we are long-time tennis fans who met on tennis Twitter and thought that our conversations and takes were so good that the world just had to hear them. This episode is our Australian Open preview. We're going to talk about some results so far from the season and then discuss the draw in depth, along with anything else worth mentioning in tennis. So, Sam, what have you noticed from the first few weeks of the season so far in terms of results?
As far as the women's side goes, it felt like the really top players, maybe people we would think would be contenders, did already show really good form in the first week especially. You had the United Cup, which I do believe was the most relevant weeks that we have had so far on the women's side. You had lots of top players competing and playing each other as well, and so that's where you saw Goff showing excellent form. You saw Swiatek playing quite well as well, and so that was perhaps the most important thing going into the AO, that the main top players who did play seemed to play really well. Sabalenka won Brisbane. Pegula just showed pretty decent form in Adelaide, so that's what we got on the women's side. What did you find most interesting?
Basically the same. I mean, outside of the top 10 as well, there are some kind of interesting results, namely the Keys victory in Adelaide, beating Pegula in the final. That's a nice little run. She has a bit of a knack for winning these pre-slam 500s. I think she won 2 last season. She got Eastbourne and that Strasbourg one as well. Only one of them was really indicative of a good result. But so Madison Keys, she's always kind of dangerous. Obviously, Naomi making the final in Auckland. Unfortunately, having to retire a set-up. But again, great for her. First final since Miami. That's kind of it for the WTA. What about the men?
I mean, I feel like just most of them didn't play.
Yeah. It's weird, Fritz, isn't it? I feel like these top 10 men very rarely play before.
Yeah, it's. I think it's becoming a trend. I first noticed it last year because Alcaraz I don't think played, Sinner didn't, I don't think Djokovic did, he hardly ever does, I don't think, and neither did Medvedev, and that's kind of what we saw again. The main contenders didn't really show up. Zverev and Fritz played United Cup, and Djokovic played Brisbane as well, but he hadn't played in quite a while, so makes sense, I guess. But yeah, it doesn't feel quite as indicative, I don't think. Fritz did look pretty much as good as last year, so that's a good sign for him, obviously. But overall, not that many really strong signs going into the year on the men's side, I don't think.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit more when the draw when it comes to it in the draw. But obviously, Djokovic had that maybe slightly concerning loss to Opelka, yeah. So that's kind of the one, as you say, the one top 10 actual favourite who stands out. And Fritz playing well in the United Cup. In terms of non-top 10 but still quite good players, anything? I don't know. What did you think?
I mean, Mahac played great at United Cup as well. He arguably should have beaten Fritz in the semis, but he, I'm sure we'll mention it again later, but he had cramps and he kind of lost his mind and retired in the middle of it, so that's something that happened.
Yeah, a bit of it was a bit of a rage quit, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it felt that way.
Maybe that's harsh, and that he actually was cramping, but it felt like a bit of a rage quit.
Yeah, and overall, other players, played and won tournaments, but none of them really stand out as strong contenders, I don't think. Monfils just won Adelaide, I think it was as well.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, no.
Any other cities in
Auckland.
In Australia?
I think
was
it was
Auckland. Oh, okay.
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he won Auckland. Okay, and Auger-Aliassime also just won Adelaide, so 250 on the men's side.
Yeah.
Against Calder. So also pretty results that I do think are worth mentioning.
I will say it's always the case. Well, maybe less so these days or recent years, but it's this thing of you don't pay that much attention to outside of Alcaraz, Sinner, Djokovic, maybe Zverev, maybe Fritz, maybe Medvedev. So something I would say a result like Felix winning this title is probably in line with like Keys winning on the women's side, in that it suggests maybe a run to a semi or quarter final, but nothing like to really trouble, especially with the tennis he played. Especially in the semi-final, didn't get to watch it, but apparently it was a bit of a mess. The final was good. I think he benefited from Seb Korda being a bit injured. He had this taping on his stomach, and he wasn't as good as he was in the semi-final against Kecmanovic. But it's good to see kind of Felix first outdoor title. And
I mean, it's a nice result for him, and he's still at a stage where, like, even if he doesn't go that far into the AOs, that's still like a good week to start the year. I don't think he even won the title last year. So
no, he didn't. No, he didn't. I will say, I mean, having watched the match, I think what was interesting, his backhand was less bad than it usually is, which is nice because that's kind of a confidence booster, I suppose, for a nice run in Australia. But his defense was kind of what was the big thing, which is interesting. Obviously, indoors when he won all those titles, it was a lot of the serve +1, but I don't know. I think he could. I don't know. Depending on, I haven't seen his draws, as we will discuss. I haven't really looked very much at the draws, so I don't know what's coming in front of him. I know he's unseeded, right?
No, he is seeded.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think he's ranked 29th.
Yeah, so. Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. But he could get like a hard third round opponent, so maybe it's.
We'll discuss it. I don't think it's that bad actually, so maybe he could get something like it.
Overall thoughts on the draws? What like? Which parts look super strong, which parts look super weak?
I think it's overall a decent draw on both sides. Sometimes you do have draws that are just nothing burgers and you're like, oh, so it's not that much to look forward to just yet. But here, I think it's good. I would call it a good draw overall. I think we have a theme here where both are quite unbalanced, where you have a half that seems quite a lot stronger in terms of having big contenders and even like, not quite the main guys, but still seeds who do look stronger in like a lot of them being in the same half. In both draws, that is the case, I think. So we'll come to talk more about that, I think.
Should we just start off with, say, women's draw? Let's do the best one first.
Okay, of course. So, this is the women's top half, where you have, obviously, Aryna Sabalenka. I think we'll start with her and her path. So, first she plays Sloane Stephens. My angle on this match specifically, that it should be a highlight on paper. You have two Grand Slam champions, two people who we know quite well, who we are like really familiar with. But as far as like recent form goes, as far like, really performing at the top over the past few years, it doesn't seem like much of a contest, and I doubt it would be a really big like match in practice as well. I don't think it will turn out to be like all that difficult or exciting, honestly. I don't know how you feel about it.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Unfortunately, I mean, I love Sloane. I think her game is great to watch, and a lot of the times I watch her and I think surely this is the best player ever, and then she loses the match. I think she's currently in a bit of an interesting place in her career where it feels like the last couple of seasons perhaps have been almost like kind of strolling through them, showing up to the tournaments. She's not awful most of the time, taking some bad losses, sometimes showing some promising signs, but in general it doesn't look like someone who's like, I'm super committed to tennis, which I don't care about. I'm really on board with people just like playing for whatever. I don't expect her to be at her best, but it's kind of, there's a question of like, how long is she going to keep doing this for? Does it bother her if she doesn't get the results that people might expect from her, or if she's like losing first round in a pretty one-sided contest at a Grand Slam, or is she happy to go down to Australia and just have that? So yeah, I think it will be, I don't expect it to be a good match at all, unfortunately. I will watch it, but I think it's going to end up being pretty one-sided and just kind of mock where Sloane's career seems to be at the moment. But it is interesting kind of wondering what she's up to these days. On Sabalenka, which we will talk about more and talk about her draw, her last 28 matches in Australia, she's only lost one of them. That was to Rybakina in that Brisbane final last year. So she's on a 27-1 kind of run, having won, what is that, 4 tournaments? It would be 5 tournaments, 4 tournaments and one final.
4.
Yeah, so 2 Australian Opens, 1 Brisbane and 2 Brisbanes, and a Brisbane final. So hard to imagine that she's not going to go far here. Do you want to talk more about her draw?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so as always, when the draw comes out, you have like these fan bases of big players who are like, oh, her draw is so difficult or whatever. Overall, I don't think hers is the easiest, but also I don't think it's all that challenging in many ways. So first, you have the Stevens match with, as we said, in theory could be kind of challenging, but in practice won't be at all, I don't think. And then looking further into the draw, third round she could face probably one of Noskova or Towson. They are playing in the first round. That's one of the, I would say, more interesting first round matches.
Towson, Towson, however you pronounce it, who just won that final in Auckland via retirement, but obviously like really good player, as is Noskova, as eager fans know, I'm sure.
Yeah. But yeah, and I actually, this match I do think is pretty interesting. You have these players who are, Towson is a bit older by like a few years, but they are both young players who I feel like are pretty similar in many ways. You have these like really big games, maybe on the weaker side as far as like movement is concerned, but lots of potential, obviously. Noskova always plays well in Australia, it feels like. And Towson is, as we said, is quite good form. So that's a one to look forward to, I think, even in the first round. And the winner is pretty likely, I think, to face Sabalenka in the third round. So that's also a match people will want to get into, I feel. But at the same time, I don't think that's a type of matchup she really struggles with. Sabalenka, it's
just a hitting contest, isn't it?
Exactly, and she usually just wins them, so she should be okay here as well.
She can out-hit basically anyone, and she out-moves everyone who's a big hitter, I would say.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
Can I ask what's your prediction for that match, the Noskova-Towson match?
I might lean Towson, actually. As I said, Noskova does tend to play well in Australia. That's where she had like her big breakthrough a few years back, actually, not even last year, the year before. She made the Adelaide final, and she lost to Sabalenka.
Oh, yes, I remember this,
yeah. And then last year she went pretty far again in Adelaide or Brisbane, and she had that big run at the AO. She beat Fiontek, she made the quarters, but this year actually she has played, I think, 2 events, Noskova, maybe just one, but didn't like perform all that well. So I would based on form, I would favor Towson slightly, I think. And looking further into Sabalenka's draw, we have potentially Mira Andreeva. Andreeva starts with against Bouzková in first round, which hold on. Is pretty interesting. Yeah.
Are we skipping the potential of a Blinkova match?
Oh, you mean before the fourth round?
Yes. Blinkova's in that little section. She could get to Sabalenka.
You mean in the third round?
Is it third round? I think it might be third round.
Oh, so instead of the winner of Noskova versus Towson, you think?
No, I think actually it would be the fourth round.
Oh, then instead of
Andreeva or Bouzková, yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying, she it would be good. It would be funny.
She makes it happen. Really great match.
Blinkova, big match player.
That is, well,
I believe that she beat Caroline Garcia at Roland Garros, I think, on the centre court. So, and obviously the Rybakina match. I mean, imagine out scamming Rybakina in a tiebreak. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't discount anything. I think Andreeva is far more likely to actually reach that fourth round and play Sabalenka, and they did play in Brisbane as well. I think it was a good match, actually, where I think it ended up being quite straightforward as far as like scoreline, with Sabalenka winning like 6-4, 6-3 or something. But they seemed actually quite even off the ground. Sabalenka just had a significant serve and return edge, which is kind of always the case when she plays Andreeva, but still like quite exciting, I think. And Andreeva seems to be getting better at a really like quick rate, so that's also pretty good. Yeah,
Andreeva the 14th seed and playing what I would consider to be a relatively hard first round. Maybe not for the particular matchup between their games, but I think Bouzkova's had quite good matches so far this year. So it's not the easiest first round, and I will disclose that I think it's about 3 years ago now, I predicted Bouzková to win the Australian Open in 2025. So I'm still backing that, and I'm still hoping it can happen. But she is ranked lower than she was then, and she is in worse form than she was then. But we'll see. I always thought that she had the potential to kind of change, become like a Kerber type player. But hasn't happened yet. Maybe next year.
Maybe this year.
Maybe this year, exactly. Maybe she's going to take out Andreeva, then Sabalenka, and then win the whole thing.
Who knows? But yeah, then I have in the notes Vekic against Vondrousova. I don't think we need to talk about like each of them specifically as far as like their chances, and I don't think they're like all that strong favorites. Vekic maybe could have been, but her early form seems kind of rough. I think she won maybe like one. Did she even win a match? She played like 2 events. I don't think she won a match at all. So she doesn't seem to be, starting the year on a great note, which will make it hard for her probably to get all that far here. But and she plays Vondrousova, who did show good tennis
in the second round. That is.
Second
round.
Okay, yeah. So that's potentially a decent match. I don't know how Vondrousova is actually going to pull up, because she played quite well in Adelaide, but then had to withdraw with a back injury, I think. Hard to tell, especially when it's so early in the year, and it's like, okay, so they might be injured, maybe it's not that big a deal. So, but on paper, I think a pretty exciting match between two players who we know can do quite well. So I felt like it was worth shouting out.
I mean, Vekic had an excellent season last season, especially the second kind of half. She seems to be quite a confidence player. Like, once she gets it, I mean, she is. I would consider her to be a choker, and when she's in the right way, in the right kind of mind headspace, she can get good results. She's obviously got a pretty good game, but you're right about this having a bit of a disappointing start to the season. She did have, it was a really weird loss, right? Was it in the United Cup?
I know she lost to Fernandez in the first match of the year, and then she lost to, I am not sure actually. I don't know who else she lost played.
She lost to Putintseva in Adelaide, apparently.
Yeah, and she must have lost another match in United Cup.
They don't come up when you Google them.
Oh, that's convenient.
She lost to Coco.
Oh, yeah, that's expected. So, yeah, I guess that's not that bad. But yeah, I guess we'll see how both of them show up mentally, physically, what they can do.
Can I mention that you have skipped over a first round match between Diana Schneider and Elisabetta Cocciaretto, which
I have.
I would say is a faux pas on your part, because
okay.
Diana Schneider, she's the 12th seed, and she won like 12 tournaments last season.
Yeah.
She could be in that. She could come through that section, face
that's true. Yeah.
Face Vondrousova or Vekic or whoever comes through.
Yeah, I mean, she could get something going here as well.
I actually think she will. If I'm looking at that, considering Vondrousova had to retire from the match she was playing and how injury prone she is.
I didn't highlight this match highlight this match to say, oh, one of Vondrousova or Vekic is going to go far. It just, one decent early match, I guess.
Yeah.
That's how I think of it.
All I can say is that I will be tuning into the Schneider.
I'm sure. But yeah, looking back on Sabalenka's draw as a whole, so Andreeva fourth round should be fine, because that's a match that she tends to like when she's not like sick to death, like on the Chatrier courts. Should be okay. And then looking even further, I think we can actually move down the golf quarter, which is also in this half, where you have, so first, her playing Kenin, Coco Gauff against Kenin.
Hold on.
Okay, yeah.
Doesn't Sabalenka meet Chinwen at some point?
Yeah, she would meet Chinwen in the quarters.
Okay, so basically we're saying that's a pretty nailed-on semi-final appearance for Sabalenka because it's Chinwen who's in her section.
I mean, if they do both make it, I think that's a really exciting quarter. But maybe that's something we could get into a bit later, like when we actually finish talking about the half, so who actually comes through here. And then we have the second quarter, where you have Goff against Cannon starting off, which is actually quite similar to the Sabalenka-Stevens match, where you have a strong contender against someone who is known, who has won a slam, but doesn't seem like she'll be that much of a threat. I don't think. They had that one big match that's kind of changed everything for Goff.
Where Kenin lost to the ball boy.
No. when she beat Goff at Wimbledon.
Yeah, I know. It was awesome. Yeah, that was a genuinely an incredible performance, and indeed Coco has that to thank for, in my opinion, partially to thank for kind of waking her up. Because I think Kenin was genuinely good, but Coco kind of realised that she couldn't just get through with the way that her game was, and then hired those two coaches and went on that run. So yeah, it's interesting. Maybe it will it's kind of act as a comparison point to see how much further Coco's progressed since then. I mean, we can obviously all see it through the results, through the game, through the eager head-to-head, but that kind of mirroring the Wimbledon one could be interesting. Obviously, Sofia Kenin, a previous champion at the Australian Open, and her draws since have been nightmarish. I think she's drawn like 3 slam champions in the first 2 rounds for just in the last 4 or 5 years. It's
even in the last year, I think it's happened 4 times at least. But yeah, honestly, I did want to talk a bit more about Coco, because I'm extremely impressed with her level right now, more than ever. You could say for a while, even when she was already doing great things for her age, winning titles, even winning a slam, in some ways I still wasn't all that impressed with what she produced, honestly. So maybe that was me being a bit too harsh to an extent.
I think the general consensus was that, especially at the US Open that she won, that it wasn't even her highest level of that summer, and obviously super impressive and probably a level up from when she lost to Kenin, but still not there yet at what her ceiling seems to be. But
I think she's playing better than ever, and not by a small margin. I think it's very noticeable, and it's the first time I come into a slam and I'm it's very realistic that she'll win. It's even likely, you could say. So I wasn't a skeptic, because for the sake of it, it just, like everyone else, I could see the limitation in her game, and I struggled to see how that could improve. Well, I mean, I knew she could improve as a player, but her weaknesses sometimes felt like they would just keep showing up again and again in big matches, in tense moments against Swiatek, and so it seems like she can just play at a level I hadn't even envisioned for her, maybe. So that's really, really impressive. And so here, I think her draw is it's fine. I don't think she'll struggle that much before we get into the later rounds. So yeah, I think we'll come to talk about her again when we maybe get even further into the late round matches.
On Coco, I watched her during that summer 2023, was it, in the US or North American hardcourt swing, and did think this was the first time I thought she could win the US Open, partially based on what the dynamics were at the moment. I think was that the year? No, it was last year that Sabalenka had the injury at Wimbledon, right? Missed Wimbledon.
It was in 24, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was just in a space where we didn't think there are super red hot favourites and strong contenders right now. So I thought she could win in a slightly weakened, tired field, and I saw already the improvements. But it wasn't like, you're right, that when I watch her now, and I don't know enough about this biomechanics or about what it takes to change a shot like the forehand. And to me, if on paper it seems almost impossible to fix that, because she's been hitting forehands for 10 years, upwards of 10 years, 15 years probably. It seems amazing that someone could come in and make their adjustments, and that she could change that shot where it's to the point where it's no longer a weakness and it's a strength now. It just feels, I don't know, it's absurd to be able to do that. It's almost feels like teaching yourself to write with your left hand. But I was watching it and it doesn't look like, oh, the forehand is holding up. It looks like, oh, that's a different shot. That's a much better shot. It looks different. It obviously has a different impact and it doesn't seem to be breakdownable as it was previously. So I agree, and I think it's not a situation of if she manages to avoid this player, if she manages to get a lucky draw, it's a kind of like very much probably one of the two strong favourites.
Yeah, I'd say so. And then I have on the agenda, I have Ostapenko against Bencic in the first round, which I do think is
class of 1994.
Pretty exciting. Yeah,
that's that group of the Naomi era type group where everyone was like, God, these guys are going to be so good. And actually, I mean, they've done quite well, but is that not further down?
They are in the top half, but in Goff's quarter.
I think they're underneath both the Mukova, Osaka, Garcia section.
Yeah, on the agenda, I actually have Osaka against the world as the headline, which I think is pretty fair.
The draw is always so rigged against us.
Yeah, I mean it's not good. So she starts against Garcia again, who she did play 3 times last year, I think, including in her first round at the Australian Open, where she did lose. And also that's only the start. So she would need to get through that, which pretty difficult. We don't know how.
It's a really ugly match because they're both awful returners, or at least last year they were, and both huge servers. So it kind of looked like everyone was playing really well because they were smashing serves and smashing winners and this kind of thing. But it kind of, I think, gives you a false idea of either player because it makes you think, oh, she's serving really well, she's hitting really well. I mean, Naomi made Caroline Garcia look like 2022 summer Caroline Garcia, and I thought maybe she's back, and then she lost to the next round to whoever it was. But yes, funny that they're playing again. I think actually they have played in the Australian Open first round in 2021. I think that they played one year when Naomi won.
Okay, yeah, I think that did happen, but very different times, obviously. I mean, the main concern for Osaka is how bad is the back injury. She went to press and she said, "Oh, it's not good, but it's also not bad," which I'm not sure what to take from that really. I mean, it means she's going to play. That's what it means. But is there something to worry about? When you try to predict or fill in a draw, I think that's pretty difficult. You're like, okay, so what's the situation? But yeah, she didn't want to go into details with that, which is understandable, but doesn't help us quite as much to analyze.
It wasn't the same injury as in Beijing, right, last year, where she looked like, I mean, honestly, that was also a bit of a sliding doors moment because she looked like she was going to beat Coco.
Yeah.
And since then, Coco's gone on this tear where she's lost, I don't know, 1-2 matches, however many.
One.
What was
two.
What was the injury then? Was it ab that time?
Oh, maybe. It was something that was serve related, so abs or lower back. I think that's, and I think it was lower back in Auckland.
That feels a bit concerning if you've got this injury that's kind of flaring up again between two things. We know she's always been pretty injury prone, but obviously upsetting to see because she was playing quite well in that match, and it would have been nice for her to win another title.
She was.
I suppose in terms of predictions, the draw gods have been quite nice in giving her a ridiculously difficult path. So even if she were injured, she could very easily lose first or second round.
Yeah, that's true. Because segue into versus the world part. In second round, it's almost certainly going to be against Karolina Mukova, who beat her in the second round of the US Open. When Osaka did look quite good, actually, she beat Ostapenko in the first round, and then just came unstuck again against Mukova. So that's really, really difficult, honestly.
Not a nice matchup for Naomi, I don't think. Karolina Mukova, great returner, in my opinion. She can obviously slice and put the ball in a lot of places that Naomi doesn't like. So I think it's one. I mean, Naomi really struggled against Shea Su Wei. I think that was also in her 2021 Australian Open run for those same reasons of just this is not how I play tennis. she really struggled against the Mukova. I don't want to call it junk balling because I don't think it is, but the craftiness, let's say. And I mean, Naomi really can't deal with a lot of that stuff. So I would be, again, really shocked if she manages to come through that.
Yeah, it seems really quite tough, and even aside from like the matchup thing, Mukova is playing arguably top 10, upper top 10 tennis.
I would say so,
and
yeah.
she has been since she returned. So for anyone, that would be really tough so early on. And then still Naomi against the world. If she were to go through Garcia and then Mukova in the second round, in the fourth round, it's likely going to be Goff again. So I think it's actually it's a really exciting section of the draw, where you have lots of good players and they are all likely to meet Goff, who I think is really almost guaranteed to actually get there. So
I will say, even before then, to make matters worse, to get there she'd have to beat probably the Bencic Ostapenko winner.
Yeah,
and we know that she
yeah.
hates Bencic. She hates playing against her. She got the win in Miami, which was like really like a dog fight. And so that again would be even for the pleasure of losing to Goff, she would have to face one of those two.
That is true, yeah.
But if it's not Naomi, it's probably going to be another player Goff likes playing, Mukova.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But yeah, overall, I think it's this like section quarter half is probably the most exciting of the whole draw, honestly. Like, you have just lots of good players, some of them returning, some of them, who we don't quite know what to expect, with like Naomi's injury and with Ostapenko being in not that great form since the second half of last year. So lots of intrigue, I think, lots of really obviously strong players, Bencic returning. So lots of matches people will want to check out, I believe.
The Bencic return is an interesting one because it kind of... She was playing really well and had some good results, right? Was it the beginning of last season where she won a few titles? Or was it 2 years ago?
No, that was, way before, I think.
Okay. Where she won that title down match point to Samsonova.
Yeah, that's 2022.
No, it wasn't 2022.
2023?
It might have been
Maybe.
23, but it wasn't 22.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
But she's still in an interesting position because it feels like she decided to go away and have a baby at a point where she would then be able to come back and have a serious comeback and really compete for titles and stuff. So it will be really interesting to see where her place is there. She has historically, in my opinion, quite seriously underachieved at slams, especially compared to her like expectations and I suppose her potential as well. But she's kind of quite quietly returned, already played a bunch of ITFs. So
yeah, it seems interesting, seems exciting. And then I think we are mostly done covering this half. You have Qinwen, who I don't see many players, or like barely anyone honestly, who could actually challenge her before the quarters. So she seems really safe to get that far. She's been playing great at the hardcore slam for quite a while, and her form has been in the second half of last year was really strong. So I think we are very likely looking at Sabalenka Qinwen quarterfinal match, and also I've actually not mentioned her so far. I do think Goff is likely to meet Pegula in the quarter as well. So the top seeds will actually meet each other, which that's what that's the projected draws, I think that they call it. Usually you don't get that, but here I feel like there is actually quite a strong chance that we do actually end up with this matchup, so which should be really good as well.
I'm not sold on Pegula. I don't know. She's probably, if there's one thing she'll do, it's get to that quarterfinal. But she's got a kind of sort of sketchy first few rounds, I would say. Like, I think someone like, Maya Joint is this supposed up and comer Australian player. I think she's fairly good. Pegula will beat her, that's fine. But I can see her losing to Elise Mertens. I know she did in Roland Garros 1 or 2 years ago. Mertens just made a final, which she likes to do in those tiny tournaments. I don't know. It's sketchy, and then she might also have to face Samsonova. So yeah,
it's not like nothing is ever guaranteed, but her chances to me do seem quite strong. Like, if she had a Keys in the fourth round, or if she had even an Andreeva in the fourth round, I'd be perhaps concerned about her getting to the quarters. But in this section, I think she should be mostly okay. Like, unless Samsonova like really plays out of her mind, which she can do, but at the slams actually usually doesn't happen. So
I think I will say maybe it's compared to her, maybe it's kind of more relative to her ability. I think she has the hardest draw to come through into her quarterfinals. I think Chinwen's now in a place, at least for the last sort of 6 months at least, where she can beat anyone that she should beat, because she's just like, her serve is so good. I think her movement's really good. So I mean, they're both players that you expect to beat those in front of them, but I have more question marks over the Pegula quarter.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. So moving into the women's bottom half, which I do think is the less exciting half by quite a margin as well. So this is Iga Świątek's half, and you also have Jasmine Paolini. She's the 4th seed, so she also has her own quarter. And then you have Rybakina and Navarro. So in the projected draw again, you would have Świątek missing Navarro in the quarters, and Rybakina missing Paolini in the quarters as well. So that's what we are looking at. And yeah, the first match I have on the agenda is Alexandrova against Raducanu, which is pretty interesting in many ways. Apparently, Raducanu is started the year injured somehow. She
got bitten by an ant.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it was. She went to Auckland. She was planning on playing it, and she picked up something like right before she went to Auckland. She had like spasms, I think that's what she said, and then that meant she couldn't actually play Auckland. So once again, it's like with Osaka, you just don't know how truly fit they are really. But in any case, that's a pretty interesting first match, I think. Alexandrova is someone who can play really well on fast hard courts. Usually she doesn't do it at the slams, but it's a possibility. And yeah, that's a good segue into Iga Świątek's draw, because the winner of that might play Świątek in the third round.
I would say definitely not, because the winner of that has to play Amanda Anisimova in the second round, and I genuinely trust her to come through that match.
Yeah, I mean that's the big like story for this section. I would say you have Świątek, who starts pretty straightforward. I think she has Siniakova in the first round, which, you know, someone we know, someone we can play well in singles, Siniakova, but also not someone you would see really troubling Świątek all that much.
Yeah, I think could be a fun match, but it's not. If I were to pick from the top players who Siniakova could bother, Iga wouldn't be on the list. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's about the particular tools that Siniakova has. I just don't see that happening. She had a little stretch where she used to keep beating Coco, I think. And she's a very good player. She's got one of those CVs that I really like, which is just a ton of titles at the lower levels. But yeah, not going to happen.
Yeah, probably not, no. But then yeah, in the third round it would be either probably Anisimova or the winner of Alexandrova against Raducanu, which that's pretty exciting for a third round, I would say. Especially considering that Alexandrova did beat Świątek last year in Miami, and Anisimova also has the type of game that could, on paper, trouble her, you know, like really big hitting from the baseline, you know, strong ground strokes. That's, on paper, something that could be trouble.
I think Anisimova, same as actually kind of Raducanu, these games that like take time away from the players and rush them, and sometimes that troubles Iga, and then sometimes she gets into a place where she starts kind of rushing herself because of that. In both cases, I could see her kind of finding her way through from that, especially because it's particularly in Anisimova's case, I don't think she has, apart from when she's facing Naomi, obviously, she doesn't really have that killer instinct. I don't know. It feels like you don't necessarily trust her to win from the winning positions all the time. And also I didn't, was that not last year in Indian Wells that Iga played that fairly good match against Emma? Or was it 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years ago already, yeah. I think they match up. It's quite an interesting matchup, actually. I think Iga has won like all 3 meetings, but all of them were pretty interesting. Not like epics or anything, but quite, you know, really fun matches, actually. So that's, I think overall Iga's draw is pretty good. Like you do have, as we mentioned, Alexandrova or maybe Anisimova in the third, but it's not like many of them in a row. That was the issue last year. She had Collins who really, really pushed her, and then immediately after she had Noskova who did turn out to have the game to trouble her as well. So
it was really unfortunate because she had like Danielle Collins at the start of the best form of her life, where she pretty much didn't lose a match for a few months, or she only lost a few, and then she had this huge emotional win against her against all odds, and then had to come back a few days later to play Noskova, who was playing really, really well, and it almost felt like she didn't have the energy to get that fight back. So I think you're right. It was the back-to-backs that did it there. I think she'd be okay here.
And as we said, her overall, it actually might get a bit easier to be fair, because in the fourth round it would be maybe Kalinskaya, who also might be injured. I think she pulled out or something already. She
retired. She does like to. Unfortunate. I mean, she's got another one with a good game and quite a bit of talent, and can trouble people when she's on it. But and she was really excellent for some portion of last year. But again, just the injury concerns seems to really struggle with that.
Getting to second week for Kalinskaya actually would be a challenge on its own. Probably.
She's almost better off being kind of low ranked and unseeded, seeing if she can get one of those big matches early on.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it doesn't look great for her based on the first week.
And then what I had is Rybakina section, where you actually don't have much trouble for her early on. You have, but then actually that's where it gets interesting. In the fourth round, it could be the winner of Collins against Keys, which is a projected third round. So that's already quite interesting. But before actually getting into all of that, I think we should mention the Rybakina intrigue right now, which surrounding her coaching situation. That has been a big storyline. I don't know how you feel about it overall, but
yeah, I mean, it's very concerning. It's something that I think the WTA is obviously making some effort to look into these coaches and their dynamics with the players and their potentially inappropriate relationships with players as well. So I can see that it's kind of come off the back of that. I know that Pam Shriver was involved quite heavily with that after sort of releasing her own story. And then you hear all the time articles come out. There was one just a few weeks ago about two players who suffered abuse from their coaches, so kind of college players. But essentially it happens throughout sport, unfortunately, and happens at the highest levels as well. And I think that the WTA is trying to really clamp down on that. And so last year in August, Rybakina announced the split with her coach, Stefano Vukov. I think he was banned from the US Open. I don't know, was this report accurate or?
Yeah, I think it was, because in August or maybe in September we had this like report that he did get suspended from coaching on the WTA. But we had like no confirmation from anyone. But like last week we had a whole article in The Athletics, which basically did confirm this, that he was actually suspended, like couldn't be on the practice course, couldn't be in players' boxes. So that's what's happening. We don't actually have many of the details. What we do know is that Rybakina has talked about it. What she says is that Vukov has never abused her in any way. So she wants him to obviously to be allowed back on. And it's just a messy situation. I also feel kind of bad for Ivanisevic, who clearly
it's a very messy and confusing situation as well, because at the end of last year when Rybakina hires Goran Ivanisevic, you think like, okay, that's a serious hire. That's not her just finding some guy to come in the interim. It feels like that's going to be a long-term relationship. He seems like a pretty good replacement. Obviously, he's a great serve coach. I don't think she needs it really, but you know, if you have the capabilities to have an excellent serve, why not get the most out of it that you can? And overall, just like a winning guy. So it was confusing when she then announced Vukov would be rejoining her team, and then we're in this situation where she's essentially seems to be in a bit of an argument with the WTA because she wants him back. They don't want to let him back. And then on top of that, there's a strange quote from her where she says that, she likes the fact that they can do things outside of tennis together, or something along those lines. I am personally of the opinion that this is just personal opinion, coaches should not date athletes, even if they're both adults. It's a different thing if you're kind of like married to someone and then they say, oh, why don't I start coaching you, whatever. But when it starts off with that dynamic, and then they start a relationship, I think that's really inappropriate. And I think the WTA, either they are planning on kind of outlawing that, maybe it's already banned, but I think that's the direction that you should go in, because it takes away from there being a kind of like, oh, it's fine, we're dating, but we're fine, or any of these kind of more subtle under the radar type relationships. And I just think it's not good. If you really, really have to date, then you have to give up coaching them, and if you really, really have to coach them, I think that you shouldn't date them.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think that's what she meant by the we can do stuff off court. I don't think that's what she meant at all. I think it's a language barrier thing. But there is still, like, obviously a possibility, a rumor that they actually have that kind of relationship. But honestly, it's tough, you have people who travel 11 months of the year. That makes it really hard to like connect with people, and so you have people, so many players who end up dating each other, which is really common. And also can happen with the coaches, which obviously can lead to many pretty obvious issues. So I can see why you would want to get rid of it altogether, but I think that's pretty hard to implement, actually.
I think it's very hard to implement, and it's not. I don't think it's at all a good solution. But those are kind of the general safeguarding rules of coaching are that you can't date your athletes no matter what age or anything like that, because it just kind of it's sort of better to overcorrect and say, unfortunately there will be some instances where you guys are super happy and in love, where we're not going to let you be together, or you'll have to trade in one of them, and that's worth it to ensure that there aren't any of those kind of dodgy situations. It's like the Pam Shriver one and kind of tons of others in the past, and honestly some that I personally find concerning now. Players who started dating their coaches when they were really young, and they were going on tour with adult men, and no one else really in their team. So it's not a perfect solution, but I do think that's basically the best way to go about it. But I mean, we're now in this situation where I think Rybakina even mentioned kind of almost like a boycott until they let Vukov back on tour, which it's a lot.
I don't think she has mentioned it again, She has been in press quite a few times, and she's been asked about it. I don't think she has mentioned wanting to maybe boycott again. So she seems...
Was that from a report someone had interpreted?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So that was in the article, in the athletics article. But in press, she said, she seems really annoyed, actually. She seemed frustrated with the situation. But she hasn't mentioned maybe wanting to boycott again. So I don't think that's likely, honestly. Like, she still wants to compete and do well. And so the question here as well is that going to be a distraction for her going into the tournament? Because, as I said, her path to fourth round at least is pretty safe if she's playing at a decent level. Like, her level from United Cup would be enough, I think, to get that far. So she could do well. I think it's always a possibility, but you have question marks. You have the fact that she could meet really strong keys with really in form in the fourth round. That's also on and of its own a really big task, a really big challenge.
And an interesting matchup again. They played at Roland Garros. I think that was 2022.
A good match.
And it was a really good match. Yeah, I think it was a third set tiebreak. But they have games that kind of complement each other. I would say now Rybakina's really improved and added what I would consider just improved rally tolerance, and her movement's better, everything like that. But as we know, Madison Keys in good form. She hits the ball as good as anyone. So I could see that, especially with this going on with Rybakina as well. I mean, she overall is in a really strange situation, because sort of first quarter of last season she was excellent. made so many finals I don't even know. Most of them were kind of lots of 500s, I think. And then she had this kind of ongoing injury, illnesses throughout the season. There's some pretty concerning quotes about her not being able to sleep and things like that. So it's kind of always question marks around Rybakina, and this time it's just in a different way.
Yeah, quite concerning. I think we might even get more updates as the tournament advances, because we were actually supposed this week to get like an update on the suspension, like whether it would be actually upheld. So
is Stefano there in Melbourne?
Yeah, I think he's there. He won't be allowed in the box or like on the practice court, but he's in like the city. So
well, they can't ban him from the city. He's not. He's vaxxed. But I think there were some quotes from Ivanisevic about how he's in a bit of a weird situation as well. Of like,
yeah,
I don't know. He's not the kind of guy that would put up with nonsense, I don't think. So
I don't think so. Yeah, no.
Maybe we'll see that. I don't know. It'll have to develop, and we obviously don't know enough about it. And she'd have to go through keys, and then she plays Paolini in the quarter. Yeah,
probably. Yeah, that's a good segue into Paolini, who I do think can actually go quite far here. Her draw seems quite manageable, I would say. So the first challenge for her that I have written down is Svitolina in the third round, which I think should be manageable for the new version of Paolini, who we have seen for almost a year now. Getting to the quarters and maybe meeting Keys or Rybakina seems quite likely. As a whole, I don't quite think she'll be top 5 again on the year. We will see, it's possible, but I think it's more likely that she won't. But either way, she has improved a lot, and she's definitely good enough to actually go through here and to go quite far. So we might actually see that, I believe.
Yeah, I think again that Svitolina match could be really good. I think Svitolina often puts up good fights.
Mm-hmm. In slams
especially, yeah. And the last few seasons since her comeback has been really good. I could imagine Svitolina coming through that. I actually think this new Svitolina kind of now has a game that's fairly similar to Paolini, where maybe the power is getting underrated because people overrate the movement and defense. I actually think both of them nowadays have good strikes, especially Paolini on that forehand. So I hope that match happens. I think it could be good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I want to talk about Ons Jabeur, which I know you were keen to do as well.
Yeah, where is she?
She's in the bottom half. I don't think she has many early threats.
Oh, I did notice. I took note of her draw. I think I looked at Naomi's draw and I looked at Ons's draw because, well, I like them both and I think they're both unseeded. Ons's draw is looking really, really good. I think her seed, she plays Kalinina first, right? Which is actually a tricky first draw, but if she's healthy, you'd expect her to get through that. And then she's got her seed, which is the round 2, is Sakkari, who plays big match player Camilla Osorio in the first round. So I could definitely see Sakkari losing that. She lost to someone who was not even in the Australian Open in the United Cup. Who did she lose to?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure.
Was it someone Spanish?
Spanish woman, yeah.
Was it Bouzes Monero?
I think it was.
Okay, so she's fine. Did she not beat Vondrousova last year at Wimbledon?
Did she?
Or was that a different?
Maybe.
A different one.
Spanish journey woman, yeah, I think that was her.
Oh no, but Bouzes Monero is not a journey woman.
Is she not?
I think she's young.
So. Oh.
22.
Okay.
That's a good player.
Oh, a journey girl.
Journey girl. Yeah, she beat Vondrousova. She beat Vondrousova in straight sets. Vondrousova was injured, but
well, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. No, but yeah, looking at it now again, yeah, it's maybe Sakkari in the second round, which should be doable. Like, Ons actually played decent tennis this week in Adelaide, so things might be looking up. And so yeah, I think overall she's in an interesting place because obviously she had this heartbreak of a Wimbledon final in 23, and since then, like last year, it felt like she just hadn't recovered. She was injured a lot, and when she did play, she didn't seem like she was enjoying it all that much. It just all seemed pretty tough.
It was frustrating, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's because it's a fresh start, it's been a while. This week in Adelaide, what I did see was good tennis, and she did seem quite pumped. She had this good match against Collins, which she beat in the first round. So maybe there is something to find here for her, like to get started on the right way.
She also had a pretty good match. This was the injury one against Putintseva, who is still pretty much, I think, in the form of her life. Her results for the last maybe even 9 months. She's only really losing to top players, and she's some of the time she's playing them quite hard, and she's won multiple titles. So, and that is an interesting matchup again. Kind of Putintseva can give back everything Ons gives her. It was Bouzas Monero Sakkari lost to, and I think the important part of that was that it was 6-2, 6-1. So that's pretty concerning. And then she retired in the qualification. Oh no, she lost to Peyton Stearns.
No, she lost,
in 3 sets, and then got in as a lucky loser, and lost to Sakkari. So wouldn't be lost to Pegula, and it's Grand Slam Sakkari. So I wouldn't really be shocked if Ons came out of that second round.
And also someone I do really want to mention is Katie Boulder, who
yes,
impressed me like really truly last week, where she qualified the UK to the quarterfinals of United Cup, and then she played Świątek really really hard in like a thriller basically, and she was just playing like really excellent tennis, like they played this tiebreak, and it didn't even feel like Świątek did much wrong, but in the like 3 or 4 last points she was just blasting winners. Really really really, really impressive. So maybe she will keep on improving as well, so I wanted to highlight her as well. So
the first seed she meets would be Haddad Maia,
I think.
So definitely winnable.
That's really doable. Yeah, I don't think she's in good form, Haddad Maia. So.
One thing I think is impressive about Katie Boulder is obviously, I mean, she was excellent last season, won a few titles. She's a big hitter, but she does really well in those long matches. I think it's like managing a lot of players you can watch and they go toe to toe with a top player, but it's only for like half a set or a set. But she, and I say this, in expectation of her potentially playing Haddad Maia, that I don't think Haddad Maia would be able to grind her down in the way that she sometimes does. Oh, Katie Boulder is a seed herself, so
she is. Yeah.
Definitely worth mentioning.
So I think that's a good storyline as well. So someone to look out for. And lastly, I wanted to discuss Victoria Azarenka, who also has probably a decent draw, I would say, but mainly I think she's in an interesting situation, Azarenka, because she tends to do well in this part of the calendar, but last year it was really just that, she played well for the first 2 months of the season, and then honestly not much else.
I feel like she likes to, she just kind of takes a section, racks up the points so that she can stay seeded at all the important events for the season, and then says, that's me done. She's the 21st seed.
Yeah, she's still here, but you just don't know how well she can do, really. She would be the one potentially facing Kalinskaya in the third round. Azarenka, if she feels pretty good, she could get to that 4th round against Świątek, so that could be interesting. But in general, I think it's an interesting place for Azarenka. Close the gates, indeed.
Oh, I would love to see. That was one of my favourite matches I've watched for the last few years. I don't know why. It was just absolutely.
It was really funny. It was really really fun. But yeah, she could do well. She tends to Australia. Obviously, she made the semis 2 years ago.
Semis. She beat Pegula. I love that.
And she pushed Rybakina actually quite hard too.
Yeah, she did. So, I think it was at least a tight first set. But yeah, it's the thing of when Azarenka's feeling it and she's in the right kind of environment. Maybe the crowd is good enough. The conditions are good enough. It's it's serious stuff. Even now, I mean, at this point in her career. So that would be good.
She still had really good tennis in her. It just doesn't come out as often anymore, which makes sense.
I think kind of connected to that generally, Azarenka's in that bracket of slightly older players. There's Halep and Wozniacki, who both did their own versions of comebacks, both of whom aren't here in the draw. Then Kvitova, who's planning on coming back. I think one thing I noticed with them is not, can you play really well? It's when can you play really well, and it's almost can they find that level, which is and given the right situation, that's what we saw with Kvitova a few years ago in Miami, and Azarenka a few years ago in Australia, when when they happen to find that level, it's kind of pretty much good enough to beat anyone. So hopefully we get a good version of Azarenka. That would be fun.
Yeah, I hope so. And that's pretty much what I had on this bottom half. So overall, I think we are looking at a draw where the top seeds can get far because, as we said, they're in form, and none of them have major challenges that could mean they are likely to go out early. So,
but you always pick the seeds to go far. You never go for an upset.
That's true, but in this case especially, I feel like it's likely we get a lot of them meeting in the later round. So,
if can I ask if there were one or two of those like top 8 seeds who don't make it or even lost early, who would you pick?
So so that would be before the quarters, yeah?
Yeah, going out far before their seed, or even if like someone like Sabalenka were to lose in the quarters, that would be a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, okay. So I think Navarro is definitely more at risk than a lot of them. She hasn't started the year that well, I don't think. I don't think her draw is all that difficult, maybe. Let me actually look it up.
It's hard to know with Navarro, though, because I feel like we've got such a small sample size of her being...
Okay, so first, she starts against Peyton Stones, which
that's
think
a losable match.
Actually, that's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Then
I picked Peyton Stearns to win that.
Okay, yeah. So I think she's pretty likely to go out early out of the top seeds. Paolini, I don't think should go out early, TBH. Maybe against... as we said, against Vitolina, but I think it's more likely than not that she would get far. And yeah, I don't know, I think things just line up quite well for the top seeds here. So if we are trying to predict maybe who could win this, how do you feel? What's your gut feeling overall? Like, actually, don't even give me a final, give me your winner.
So you don't want the runner-up? I think the obvious thing is to go one of Coco or Sabalenka. I actually didn't think about this, what to predict. Let me take... I'll do Coco beating Rybakina in the final.
Okay.
Because this would be a fun matchup these guys never play.
That's true.
So why not? And I think... Let's. I'll stick with that.
I can see it.
I think the 3-peat, as much as I think Sabalenka is excellent, a 3-peat is really hard. She has a bit of trouble with this Coco head-to-head, and I could see it happening even worse now. Coco's got this slightly more impenetrable game, so yeah.
Yeah. And
what about you?
As for me, I mean, I do have Sabalenka winning. My question would be against who in the final? It's actually, I think it's harder to predict the bottom half actually, because while there are like contenders here like Swiatek, they don't seem as certain as Garth or Sabalenka to get like really far.
I mean, something we didn't even mention is Iga's injury concern in that match against Coco.
Yeah.
Like, she already has a slam concern at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she does. That's the big storyline, yeah.
There's now a shifting in this head-to-head with Coco. How far will that go in Coco's favour? And then there's the injury, how that will play out.
More likely than not, she should be fine. She said she felt bad like in that moment, like she felt hurt. But then she was told by like medical staff, that probably it wasn't all that bad, so more likely than not she should be okay physically. But even if she's like fully healthy, I don't know how confident you can actually be that she would make the final. She has never made an Australian Open final, and she went out fairly early in the last 2 years.
You know what we need to see is a Danielle Collins-Iga semi-final.
Oh my god. Do we need to see that?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people would love it.
The thing is that Iga would probably win that match, and then you get the kind of complete erasure of this, erasing of this narrative about Danielle Collins beating Iga in Australia.
Maybe. Let me know, but yeah, overall, I do think I'll go Sabalenka against... Actually, I think I'll go Sabalenka beating Rybakina.
Okay,
That's
well, again.
A repeat of the last two, of 2023.
And then, okay, here's this will be horrible for you to answer, because I know you don't like to do this.
Okay, yeah.
Complete wild card. If you had to have one or two players that you think, outside of the kind of big top contenders, who would you say who's like most likely of these outsiders to win.
Is it cheating to say Bouzková?
No, that's fine.
Okay, then I'll go Bouzková. I think she's just playing the best tennis out of this, Well, would Chinwen count?
No, she's part of the elite. I'm going to define the elite of Sabalenka, Iga, Coco, Rybakina, Chinwen, and I'll put Pegula in there, why not?
Okay, yeah. Then I'm going Bouzková, yeah, for sure.
I have for some reason, apart from my Bouzková prediction, my spidey senses are going Ostapenko.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. You could see her getting a bit fired up in the Bencic match and then facing Iga at some point.
Well, that would be in the final, so...
Oh, would it? Okay. Oh, that would be such a good final.
That would be so funny. But yeah, I think that's a pretty in-depth coverage of the women's draw, so if you don't mind, I think we could move on to the men's draw, where you have, once again, I do feel like these are quite unbalanced in many ways. So first, looking at the top half, which in my opinion is the less interesting of the two, where you do have Yannick Sinner, you have Daniil Medvedev and Taylor Fritz being the big seeds, you would say. It just seems really, really comfortable for Sinner. I think we'll get to this later on, but...
Also in that section is slightly less big seeds, but still semi-relevant players at Tsitsipas and Rune as well, both as top 15 seeds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And de Minaur is also in there.
He is. He would face maybe Sinner in the quarters, which would be pretty tough for him. So, but yeah, as far as relevant early matches, I have Rublev against Fonseca, which I do think lots of people will be tuned into for
that. Lots of people, yeah. Lots of people because Brazil has a huge population. Yeah, that's that is the I think for me the one early first round loud match. Fonseca obviously. I don't know if he's lost a match since the start of the Next Gen Finals. I think he went.
He hasn't.
All
he
the way.
He
won that challenger, and then he qualified without dropping a set. It is that situation where you're watching and you can tell a guy's not meant to be in qualifiers really based on his level. That almost anyone else in there he would probably have straight setted. Interesting match. I mean, Rublev had a weird season last year where he won the 2 Masters and then dropped off all of his consistency, which you usually rely on him for. 2 Masters? 1 Masters?
1.
Okay, fine. No, it was Monte Carlo was rude. Tsitsipas, yeah. Tsitsipas. Oh, they're all the same. But yeah, I mean, Fonseca's still kind of finding his game, I would say, and quickly. Huge strokes on both sides. He does remind me, I know people have said it before, he does kind of remind me of Sinner because he's still quite lanky, but it's just the Americans love to call it kinetic chain. Just the way he uses his body to get power into the ball. Sometimes he can overhit, but I think against Rublev that won't really be. Maybe it'll be an overhitting contest, but should be a great match, and it will be a really good test for Fonseca to see where he is because it's not quite top tier elite, but this is a player that can you take it? Can you take him to 5 sets? Can you beat him even? It could be a bit like his very own Alcaraz Tsitsipas US Open in 2021.
Funny. I was just about to say that. I think there are 2 ways it could go. I think of obviously the Tsitsipas match that Alcaraz played in 21, which was his really big breakthrough performance.
Oh, it was incredible.
And then the other side of that coin would be his match Alcaraz against Medvedev in Wimbledon, where he actually wasn't nowhere close. He got demolished. So I doubt Fonseca could get demolished, but at the same time I do think Rublev should still be favored by quite a lot, honestly. Even though lots of people will have their eyes on it, maybe upset alert or something. I would still favor Rublev actually.
Yeah, okay. I'll pick Fonseca, but not just because of the players, but also because of the scenario. I think the fact that it's we don't know yet about his fitness, but the fact that it's a Grand Slam, I do think that changes things for Rublev a bit because he doesn't. I don't know. I'm not convinced about his belief in slams anymore. I think that you could basically essentially have a situation where the match is decided by who's more hyped to be there, and for whom it's a bigger occasion. You know, for Joao, it's pretty much the biggest match of his life. Maybe the next gen finals was that, but for him, it's going to be a heavy, loud Brazilian crowd. We expect it to be, and for Rublev, it might just be a first round match that's just a little bit too difficult. So you could imagine that. I could imagine that almost deciding it, the kind of environment. So I'll pick Fonseca, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rublev goes through.
That makes sense. And then I have another decent early match would be Norrie against Berrettini.
Oh, that's good. This is in the same. That's also in this top half, right? Whose quarter is that? Because
it's I don't think it's Sinner's actually.
Sinner's, okay.
Well, it's his half for sure, but I don't know if it's his quarter.
Yeah, it will be Sinner's quarter.
Okay.
And actually, the winner of this match faces Rune potentially in the second round, or Rune or Triple Z, which is a really good first round match, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, because Berrettini showed like really good tennis for most of last year. Honestly, like he didn't do all that well at the slams, but he had some difficult draws. But he won like 3, 4 titles.
It was so many. It was so many.
Yeah,
I think
he was just winning a lot, so he could probably still play like really strong tennis. So that's pretty exciting. Norrie is really not the player he was like two years ago, but he still has some good moments, like when he beat Draper at Wimbledon last year. That wasn't something people expected, but he found the good tennis and he did it.
It's this match, this Berrettini Norrie, is a real relic of like the early 2020s, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Like this could definitely have been a high stakes semi-final in 2021, 2022. Yeah, but I agree. I genuinely think, I mean, I did it myself. People wrote off Berrettini a bit too early and thought, you know, once this injury is concerning him long term, that's going to be it for him. But he came back and, like, honestly, he's seeded, right? No, he's not seeded. Okay, he must not be far off the seedings because...
Yeah, no, he isn't far, I don't think.
Yeah, I think if he stays healthy this season, big if, he could get back into the top 15 at least.
Yeah, I do see it for him.
And it would be good to have a semi-final with Sinner. I think it would be fun.
Well, that's quite a long way away, but who knows? We have mentioned Rune. He could face, in the fourth round, so obviously on paper that would be a really exciting match. I don't know what to make of Rune at this stage. He obviously just like all the talent he has is still here for sure, but it's that same issue, he doesn't really seem like he knows what to do. Like in general, I would say on court, but also off court with like his managing, his coaching situation and stuff. No one really seems to know what's going on.
His on again, off again relationship with Patrick Mouratoglou, which was he's hired and then he's fired, but he's going to be in the box still. And
I think that's done. I think he's back with his old. Well, he's coach of forever, basically, who is... I don't have his name, God. I should know that. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good decision if he actually sticks to it, but... okay, that's Lars Christensen, I think that's his name. I think going back with him makes sense, it's fine, because that's the one who actually developed him, and when he actually was playing really well and was basically a top player, that's who he was with. So... that seemed like a decent decision, but just on court, I watch him and it doesn't seem like he's following a game plan or anything. He kind of just does whatever, and
it's so baffling because I mean, sometimes I just think there's just no reason this guy should lose to anyone apart from top players. He's got great movement, he's got great volleys, huge forehand, nice backhand, good serve for his height and size and a good return, like all the elements there. Yeah. And I think he is like excellent under pressure. I mean, he beat Djokovic from a set down at a Masters in the final, and this was like a few years ago. Djokovic, before he was old man post water bottle. Then the next year, in his defense, I think saved match points and took it to a third set against Djokovic. So like he's got that part which you want, which is a kind of like the fight. So it's just, and it's kind of these decisions. And sometimes he plays, I find when I watch him, he plays a flawless set or a flawless tiebreak to come back against some really good guy. And then you think, okay, now he's in, now he's on. And then it goes away again. So I don't know if it will ever kind of come together in a way that will be consistent. I don't know whether he might end up being a guy who wins big sometimes, but then is off it for a lot, like almost like a more successful Fanini type. Or whether it's going to be this forever. There's like kind of slightly strange losses to someone that he should be way better than. But having said that, he has got a pretty difficult first round against Triple Z, so it's not like that would be an awful loss, I don't think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it would be kind of crazy, you know, he was predicted to be in that big three, you know, like the new big three.
I still believe.
Yeah,
I know there was a time where the Rune fans were like,
he's number two.
He's number two. Where's Yannick? I mean, Rune showed up and then he won this Masters, and Yannick was still sort of toiling away, saving match points against Pablo Carreño Busta.
Yeah.
But since then, I mean, it's just been pretty much downhill for him. We'll see. And also, I mean, he always has these situations where him or his mom put out a statement and they're like, you know, now's our time, lock in. And I believe them, and I'm like, yeah, Rune is coming.
It's so chaotic. I hope he'll figure it out at some point, but I'm not sure the time is now. Next on, I did want to actually cover Tiafoe, who might actually play Rublev or Fonseca if it's Fonseca in the third round, which could be quite interesting. Tiafoe is, like, I think, quite an interesting profile because he has shown quite a few times that he can play like really strong tennis, especially on hard courts actually. And yet
he'll say he has a title on every surface. There's not that many people who have it.
That's true. But mostly when you see it at his best, every single time it's in the US, especially in New York. And so the question is always going to be, can you do it elsewhere? Can you show that level of tennis, that level of focus, that level of fight? And I'm just interested in seeing where that goes, if it's actually possible for him to find that.
I would love to see the Tiafoe Fonseca, what would that be, third round match. I think that could be excellent. Whether Tiafoe can take crowds that are against him and use that energy in the same way that he does that are crowds that are for him, because I don't really think we've ever seen him in a situation where loads of people are really against him. I don't think he's played a Brit on a big court at Wimbledon. I don't think he's played a Frenchman on a big court at Roland Garros, and I think outside of that he usually draws fans generally, like when there's a neutral crowd. People tend to support him. So it would be interesting if he did meet Fonseca and you had a bunch of Brazilians there, what that would end up being like.
That'd be fun, yeah.
And honestly, this is, you know, predicting quite far forward, but if Fonseca beat Rublev, I would expect him to beat Tiafoe if that matchup happened. That
would be crazy run already. But looking at the half overall, I actually don't have that many notes left. I do have the question of who will Sinner actually face in the quarters. I think there are
assuming it's Sinner.
Assuming it's Sinner, it will be seems Sinner. Extremely likely. Yeah. So you have either Domino, as we said, or Tsitsipas or Khachanov. I think one of those three are the likeliest options. He would be favored against any of them, honestly. But it's just interesting to think about who has a better chance. I do think Domino is favored here, better form than the other two, and just has improved, whereas Tsitsipas, if anything, has fallen down quite a bit.
Very strange.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, it's not that strange. I think I'm not super surprised about Tsitsipas's trajectory, but it's a shame. Although he does quite like Australia, so
yeah, he beat Sinner twice here.
Yeah. The first one was like a rout, right? It was basically like that. And then the second one was closer.
I
was the other way around.
I think both of them went to 5.
Oh, okay, fine. That's my.
Maybe I'm wrong.
That's true. The second one was the first one was, I think, a comfortable win for Tsitsipas, but like 4-5 sets. The second one was the one where Sinner should have won. That's when everyone started giving up on him because he lost a bunch of these 5-set matches in a row that he should have won.
Oh, yeah,
there
that's
was
true.
the Djokovic at Wimbledon, Alcaraz at US Open, and then Tsitsipas at AO all in a row.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I would like to see that match again. I mean, it would be...
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it would be more interesting than the Deminor match, which is just... It's so tough. Yeah, you see, it's not like Deminor comes in and is like, oh, I can't do it. It's just the match plays out and they try both of them try their best, Deminor does everything he can to, rush him, to come to the net, to return well. It's just not happening.
This is one of the ugly head-to-heads, right? The Sinner Deminor one.
It's like 8-0 something, 9-0. It doesn't seem like he can get anything going, and it's not like you can just hope for like a really terrible Sinner performance. That's not a thing anymore. His
whole game for the last year at least is like based on. I think of him as being basically like a young Djokovic with more power. Of like, I'm gonna hit every ball. It's gonna be right next to the line, and it's gonna be super super hard. And there's this thing of players like Sinner that when the power comes so easily, they don't have to force those shots, so they can place them, and they've got tons of power on them, but it's still being placed wherever they want them to be. It's just so hard to play against. Plus the serve, and plus the return.
Mm-hmm. And also Nafsina is like really fast off the ground, so it's not like you can just I'll jump the gun and I'll attack quicker than he does. No, he'll still be able to counterpunch and defeat you even if you are the one attacking first. So it's really really tough.
I think of them like players like Sinner and even Fonseca. I think they're like ants. Like ants are so small that they can carry so much of their body weight. Sinner is he's so light, it doesn't take that much explosivity for him to get around the court quickly.
That's
Whereas
true,
Alcaraz has to have the muscle and the power in his body to get him round.
That's true. Yeah. That's interesting. That's a good comparison. I like it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this quarter, even in this half, honestly. I think the biggest threat would be either Medvedev or Fritz, which would be a quarterfinal, which also seems really likely. None of them are facing big threats early on. So that's also what I mean when I say that the draw is unbalanced, because even if you look at the middle seeds, for instance, you don't really have people who stick out as like, oh, they can really upset a top players. That's not what we have here.
Might I mention something, a bit of a wild card in this close to Taylor Fritz section of Giovanni Pecci Pericard, which I guess you can pronounce better than that, because he is in he plays Monfils in the first round, so he might well lose that first round, but it's this situation where it's like, here's a guy who does something better than you all. So if he can play that game better than the people in front of him, he could go quite far. I could see him beating Fritz. It's harder for serve bots in 5 sets, I do think.
Yeah, maybe.
You're not a believer.
I think he has potential. I think he's good, but Fritz is just she's really just become really really solid. So you're at this stage where you just don't feel that confident that he'll lose to anyone who isn't like really great. So I could see that's the thing about Pecci Pericard and serve-bots, I guess. If you also are a strong server like Fritz is, who sometimes can struggle in return, not return that well, then it becomes kind of luck-based almost, not entirely obviously, but it has a coin flip feel to it because you have all this tie breaks,
which is what the 5 set tends to even out. Is this there's more coin flips and there's other things that come into play. It's probably quite easy to win 2 tie breaks against Fritz.
And the better baseliner, as the matches goes on, is still likely to get through. So
and they can sometimes get a bit of a read on the serve and a bit of a get into rhythm with it. So you're right, he probably won't upset everyone, but he's definitely one to kind of watch out for before the tournament.
And so I think the biggest threat for Sinner here is just the winner of Medvedev against Fritz. And even then that doesn't feel all that difficult compared to Djokovic or Alcaraz. Who we'll get onto quite soon. It's
interesting this Medvedev thing. I mean, he had once again 2 sets up in an Australian Open final, and this time you're not playing against Nadal, so you think, in that moment, I don't know what the actual kind of odds were, but Sinner coming back from 2 sets down to win his first slam would have been pretty yeah, that was impressive, but it was also must have been an awful loss for Medvedev, and I'm very interested to see this year. It feels like every new year after one of these awful losses, he needs to kind of start afresh again.
Yeah, I think that would be honestly more interesting than Fritz again, because even though Sinner has dominated Medvedev in just last year basically, and a bit of the year before.
Aside from the Wimbledon match, which I think Sinner was injured.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, not injured, but like ill or something. But anyway, I think that's still a more potentially exciting matchup than Fritz, which also feels kind of like too much of an advantage for Sinner, because they just do the same thing and Sinner does it better, which Medvedev isn't quite the same. It's a different profile. So
I actually am still quite invested in the Medvedev thing, because I do think at his best his game was just really devastating is maybe not the right word, because he's not like imposing in the same way, but just horrible to play against. This guy that like does not miss, huge serve, great return. And I kind of miss him being an elite player because of that interesting dynamic of being able to knock those other guys off. So I'm interested to see whether he can find his serving again and whether he can be elite again.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to, honestly. Like, his serve has fallen off a cliff, basically. It's really striking when you look at the stats, and so you just hope that somehow he finds a way to get that back to a good level, and maybe from there you can make something happen, but that's an uphill battle for sure.
Let me ask, this kind of Medvedev related. If you were to pick one player to win a slam between Zverev and Medvedev from here, who would you pick?
I think I'd pick Zverev, unfortunately. Yeah, I think
that's so sad from a Medvedev point of view.
Yeah, it is, but also he's just playing worse tennis by
he's playing worse tennis, but you kind of think this is Zverev at his very best, and he still hasn't managed to do it, versus when Medvedev was at his best, if he could get back to that, he put himself in a position a lot of times to be able to.
Well, that's true, but also it might, even if Medvedev gets back to his best, how confident are we that he would beat Alcaraz or Sinner,
I think he's got. I will say not. I'm not saying he's going to go back to back and he would beat. He beat both of them in semi-final, final, and he's comfortably the best player. But I think he could be in that mix. I think if he's elite this year, I think that there'd end up being 4 of them who I would look at before every big tournament. I think you can see in that there was one point where I saw this head-to-head between Alcaraz and Medvedev and thought, how is Medvedev ever going to get wins against Alcaraz again? I think it was after the Indian Wells match, and then he beat him in the US Open semi-final. So especially that one, we know what the head-to-head looked like before Medvedev was bad. I mean, it was when Sinner was not so good, but I think an elite Medvedev would be in that conversation.
Yeah, I think so as well, for sure.
But that's not what we have so far, far as we know.
So yeah, probably here Sinner going through to the final is really, really likely, and then we have the bottom half, which is the one people will be looking at. I think it's pretty stark to me. It's just packed with storylines. You don't have that many big early matches that stand out, but you just have lots of names that you want to talk about. We have more contenders for the title than in the other half. You have
2 versus 1.
You can stretch it.
3 versus 1. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And you do have the potential, obviously, quarter between Alcaraz and Djokovic, which everybody would tune into that, of course. And yeah, it just really lots of things to mention. Even before getting to that quarter for Djokovic, you have maybe Opelka in the third round, or it could be Machac. Players who, Opelka did just beat Djokovic in actually a really impressive performance from Opelka.
Yes.
Yeah, well, obviously concerning from Djokovic's point of view, but also
concerning from a tennis point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, to an extent. But yeah, Opelka was shockingly good in that match. So he would have to get through Machac, Opelka, so that's not necessarily favourable.
But sure, so a bit of a slippery draw for Djokovic, considering his performance in the last slam. I'm kind of interested to know what. I mean, my opinion of last year was that he basically everything else was taking a backseat, and it was just about the gold medal. And I think in the build up to that, it was just about the gold medal, and then after that, it was almost coming down from the gold medal. I don't know whether he's in a position now where it's like overall he feels like he's completed tennis. He'd obviously like to get more, but whether he can't find enough motivation, even as a Novak Djokovic, can't find enough motivation to still be competing against such a high level in Sinner and Alcaraz for slams, or whether we've got a bit of a reset and he says, okay, last year was excellent, I achieved my dream, and now I'm going to go back into Djokovic mode, where he again might be underperforming in events outside the slams, even in the Masters, but is able to bring it for the slams. So that I think this would give I think this tournament would give quite a good indication of where he stands with that.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because you still can't forget that when he truly locked in last year, he won. He won what he wanted. He got it. He won the gold. And he was extremely impressive doing so, like arguably near his best. So that's probably still in there. So I'm not rating Djokovic off like at all. And I do think it's more likely than not that he will actually get to Alcaraz. And the question would be, so what happens in that match? So that's really, just that alone is extremely exciting, I think. And then just looking further into the draw, you have Draper, who I think is just interesting in general.
And he's got
right now
a pretty nice
difficult draw. Yeah,
I think it's nice.
He has maybe Korda in the final.
Yeah, that's tricky. Korda was I will say excellent in that semi-final against Kecmanovic. Like his ground strokes are just so good, and his net
I love his
play
game.
it's beautiful, but an injury concern in the final. So, and he struggles
as always.
Yeah, he struggles with injury, so might be the same here. I will say just above that, the Draper match is a Fognini-Dimitrov first round, which I think could be excellent, but importantly, Dimitrov being the 10th seed. So actually, I like that section. There's a Goffin, Bonzi, and then the winner plays Fognini or Dimitrov. I think that's exciting.
That's pretty good, yeah.
For me personally.
No, I do see it. And back to Draper quickly. If he does get through, well, most likely he would. Korda in round 4 away, it's Alcaraz, very likely. So that's also, even before the Djokovic quarter, really, really, really fun, really exciting.
Is that not got a kind of one-sided head-to-head? Or is it just that one match in Roland Garros? I remember they played where Seb Korda was excellent, but Alcaraz was better.
Draper beat him in Queens.
You're talking about Draper. Alcaraz.
Oh yeah. Oh sorry. I am talking about Draper.
Oh yeah. Okay. That was. I put a bit of an asterisk over that, to be honest. I don't know if that's harsh.
Yeah. No. I think I get it, but also still, that's Draper, who I think has been playing top 10 more so than top 20 tennis like lately. I think he'll get there quite soon, actually. I don't think he did all that well in the first half of 24, so that seems like it's on the way. And just generally, I've been impressed with his game, with his improvements. So Alcaraz 4th round would be a hell of a match. I think I could see it, yeah. Looking like way a bit further down, I think we have a Ruud section, because Ruud is the 6th seed, which feels quite high.
I don't know how he does it. How does he do it?
He finds a way.
6th seed is so high.
that feels quite high. And actually quite
he
early
missed
on,
a lot. He was like winless for the second half of last year after that virus in Roland Garros as
pretty
well.
much. Yeah.
How does he do it?
I mean, he looked pretty good in United Cup, so
okay.
Maybe it's a good version of Ruud.
What I was going to say is that I think he looked actually quite excellent in the first set of that Roland Garros. Was it a quarterfinal or a semi-final against Zverev?
Semi-final.
Yeah, which is why, and I think he'd beaten him the year before quite handily.
In that stage as well.
Yeah, in the same. So I think, this is not clay, but I do genuinely believe in good Ruud. When it's there.
When it's there. I think it might be.
Okay. Well, then I'm excited.
He would face Menchik in the second round, which I think is really fun.
Fun and a bit tricky as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Menchik is really good. So that's pretty interesting. And then I think even further down you have the Zverev quarter, where honestly not much is happening early on. He would maybe face in the fourth round Humbert or Fils.
I think
Fils he struggled with.
I think I like this matchup. I like how Fils kind of steps up to him and pisses him off a bit. Maybe it was just maybe he won't be able to. Yeah, maybe it'll just be once. And based on the scenario, Fils is kind of becoming a bit of a 500 merchant.
Yeah,
I mean, I put Arthur Fils in my final top 10 at the end of this season, and I kind of expect something from him, and if he doesn't make up towards there, I think it will be a bit of a disappointment, because you watch him and you think he's got what it needs. He's like an insanely good athlete, and he is like pretty driven as well. So hope he can start off the season well. Has he played yet this year?
I think he lost to someone he shouldn't have.
Yeah, I think he also lost to someone he shouldn't have lost to, because I think I saw that, having put him in my.
He lost in 10. Hong Kong to Mueller actually, who went on to win the title. So maybe not that bad.
Yeah, but isn't he a journeyman?
Well, kind of. He has Crohn's disease, Mueller, which
does he?
Actually, yeah, he does. That's actually insane to be like a top 30 tennis players while dealing with that. That's actually really impressive.
Might I add, this is not related, but a kind of reason why we need to stop doing so much discourse on bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
Like, it's so bizarre, and it's just an assumption that everyone always, should be the way you expect them to be. Just let people have the allotted time. It's wild how much people complain. And I'm sure you agree as an eager fan.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, yeah. So he did lose to someone who likely he shouldn't have lost to, but who knows? Maybe he'll actually make it there. But otherwise, pretty comfortable for Zverev. Should make the quarters or even further. Actually, if he actually is playing good tennis, as is in decent form, which he seems to be, path to the semis should be quite doable. But yeah, that's what we have in this half, where you have both more contenders and more strong middle seeds, kind of, with Mahat, with Dimitrov, with Draper as well. So a lot happening. I think especially just looking at the potential draw for Alcaraz starting in the second week, you would have, if it all goes according to plan, if it all goes according to the odds, kind of, you would have him against Draper, then Djokovic, then Zverev, and then against Sinner. That could happen, that would be pretty excellent.
If anyone could do that, though, could navigate that draw, I would trust Alcaraz too. I mean, I will say, like, I don't know, he has his downs, but I still think when he's on it, it's just... And I do think he could beat Sinner when he's on it, on any surface, in any situation.
He has to be hungry for the calendar slam now.
Yeah.
I think
that's another kind of...
has to be on his mind.
It has to be... It's kind of an important narrative of the season.
No, did I say calendar slam? No, I meant
career
slam.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, calendar slam's open for him if he wants to. But I think he's got 2 opportunities to be the youngest guy to do the career slam, I think.
That's pretty wild.
So, as in, if he doesn't... I think that's right. Yeah. It might be that was the case. No. Yeah.
I think he does.
So yeah, I mean, this is the one he hasn't won yet. I'm almost kind of, off the back of this conversation, tempted to pick Alcaraz and Iga to kind of both put the AO in their Palmares. Yeah, but I also do think he can thrive on a break, a fresh start. Sometimes his performances just look like a guy who's tired and a bit frustrated and can be a bit disinterested. I'm not saying, I mean, no questions about like his fitness or anything like that. It's more just a kind of having to bring what he brings, the intensity and that sprinting around the court every week for however long his career is going to be is hard. So, and he's got this new haircut. Yeah, I think Alcaraz is winning.
Okay, I mean that's a good segue into our predictions. So, if he's winning, who is he winning against?
I think we are finally going to get our Alcaraz Sinner. Well, finally, it's not been that long, but we're going to get our Alcaraz Sinner final. We're going to have Alcaraz. Will he beat Djokovic? Yeah, I'll say Alcaraz takes out Djokovic, and then he takes out whoever else is in the semi-final. I don't know who it's going to be, and then I think he'll beat Sinner, and I think it will be. I'm not going to go classic because that's too. I think it will be like great match with bit. You know how they like to play sometimes of I play well now, you play well now, I play well now, you play well, which seems to be what they how they work right now. So no, I take it back. I think it will be a great performance by Sinner throughout the final, and I think Alcaraz will have bad moments where he loses sets quite comfortably, and I think he'll have excellent moments where in tight situations where he wins it from that. So it'll like a crazy scoreline, like Alcaraz wins 3 tie breaks and Yannick wins 2 breadsticks type thing.
Yeah, that should be pretty exciting. And I think I'll go the other way, but I'll go with the semi-final. I do think it's likely possible that Sinner could actually beat Alcaraz in the final.
Not beaten him since 2023 though, right? I think Alcaraz was 3-0 against him last year.
Yeah, he was, but also none of them were on the hardcore slam, which Sinner tends to like a bit more, I think. And also the I think Beijing one. I think they played the final of Beijing on hard, and that was basically a coin flip. No, I mean it ended up being a 3rd set tie break. I think that could have gone. That could have gone both ways.
Yannick in a winning position, and then Carlos played out of his mind for a tie break. Right?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, so I do think it could happen, but either way, if we do get that would be really, really good. Exciting.
I think Alcaraz beating Djokovic and Sinner to win his career slam would be
fantastic. Yeah.
Deserving, and we would hear some. I'm sure we'd hear some goat shouts at that point.
Probably we would, yeah.
And I'll be the one making them.
That would be our review show, which will be out in 2 weeks. Should be. And yeah, so that's about all we have for this draw analysis. So moving along, I think we have covered like most of it, most of the relevant matches and most of the favorites and what it could look like for them.
Last question, let me ask. This is one thing I wanted to bring up. Okay. Actually, I'm going to do my, these are all, what do you call thing at the end of the meeting? I don't know, I never have them. Any other business, AOBs. First thing is, what will be interesting to watch for this year is the Rybakina Iga Sabalenka head-to-head triangle, because at the moment it is non-transitive in that you imagine like Isha painting, you know? Sabalenka beats Rybakina beats Iga beats Sabalenka, Iga closing that head-to-head on Rybakina, but that's something to kind of watch out for, I'd say, this year.
Yeah.
Then my do you have anything on that?
I mean, I think it's quite interesting how it has worked out so far, but also I think it's also at a point where it's not automatic. You know, they all have multiple wins against each other, so that's what makes it fun as well. You have a trend like Iga beating Sabalenka most of the time, but still some relevant, important wins for Sabalenka over her, and that's how it works out in general. Actually, Rybakina used to be Sabalenka's pigeon, arguably. That's not something you would say anymore, not at all. So I think that's, if we get more of these matches, which of course I hope, will be exciting to follow along. That's a 3rd year, you know, where it's kind of a storyline, something we look out for.
Second point is prediction for the whole year, because this is kind of our year preview as well, almost.
That's true, yeah.
Any first-time slam winners on either side? And who?
I think Chinwen is fairly likely. I wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't put money on tennis in general, but I wouldn't put money on this. Either.
And which one do you think? Which one do you see it happening at? If it has to.
US Open.
Okay.
That tends to be the one that feels most open because people are tired, and that's where she thrives usually. That's in that spot of the calendar. So if she somehow figures out how to beat Sabalenka, she could have a chance here. And on the men's side, I actually don't see it. I don't think. Yeah. How do you feel?
I think we're gonna have a weird Wimbledon winner again, and I think it will be outside the people who've won it before.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know yet whether to go Ons or Mukova, but Okay, this is the year Ons Jabeur will win Wimbledon.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, rating it
down.
Well,
and obviously Marie Bouzková's winning the Australian Open. So
that's true. Well, if that happens, that would be a great launch pad for the podcast.
And for the men, I'm still on Rune. I think he'll break through. Let's say
at a slam.
Roland Garros. Yeah.
Wow, that would be wild, actually. Yeah. Okay, exciting. Okay.
So I'm yes on both of them.
Okay, fair enough.
Last thing, this is another predictions thing. Any interesting players on either side that you think are going to make the top 20 this, or even finish in the top 20 this season? So like big breakthroughs or improvements or like comebacks?
Well, top 20, huh? Let me actually look at something. On the women's side, I could see a Clara Towson top 20 debut. I think that's possible. Maybe. Yeah, I think I'd go with her. Well, that's a bit of a recency bias.
You win one final via retirement, and that's
and you can make top 20. No. I've been a believer for quite some time.
No, she's good.
Was just injured quite a lot. Yeah. And on the men's side, so someone who hasn't been there before. Archofis is just has a peak of 20, so he's done it already. Oh, Mahatch hasn't done it yet, so he'll do it. He'll get over the line. Yeah.
Cool. I like those. I'm going for finally Amanda Anisimova, who has never ever been ranked in the top 20, which is just insane.
Yeah, fair enough.
And on the men, I did have someone. Oh, Fonseca. There you go.
Oh yeah. I could have mentioned him as well.
It would be a pretty impressive achievement. I think he's still outside the top 100, so
it would make him actually maybe quicker to do it than Sinner and Alcaraz.
Really? Faster than Alcaraz?
Alcaraz got it in late 21 or early 22. Okay. One of the two.
Yeah, it might have been early 22 because I think he was outside the top 20 when he played Berrettini in the Australian Open. But it did feel, I don't know, it feels like his rise was more meteoric. I don't know why. I guess it was that. It's because he didn't spend any time in the top 20. He went straight to like top 10, then top 5, and then number 1.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, which I don't foresee like Fonseca doing actually.
It's just honestly, I need to watch him way more for me to have like a strong opinion as to okay, this could happen very soon, or this is just something, just lots of elements he needs to work on, develop. We just will need to see, and obviously getting these wins that you have predicted at AO would be quite
we're gonna see
big sign.
We're gonna see like 5 matches of it right now.
We will see.
So yeah, that's the end of the Australian Open preview episode. We hope to be back in about a week's time, maybe more, to do a chat about the semi-finals and finals before they happen. Sam's looking really surprised. He didn't know this was happening.
Yeah, I didn't know about it.
I think it would be. No, I think it would be worth doing. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes for timing. But that was my plan. And yeah, if you like that, if you like this, then tune in for those as well. We're gonna have some hot takes, I suppose, when when those matches happen, or everything that we predicted will have gone to plan, and we'll see Marie Bouzková in the last 4 of a slam. But otherwise, thanks for listening.
Feel free actually to give us your takes, and also to tell us what you thought of the pod. Anything you think we could improve, I think that's always welcome. And yeah, catch you next time, hopefully.